Good morning, everyone. So the following video is meant to be a home vlog, and it's just meant to be something in regards to our typical day as we usually do. However, I start to go into a discussion in regards to a very important issue that is plaguing the world, and that topic is in regards to child labor, specifically in the food industry and in the agricultural industry, food. And in this video, I'm kind of going about my day and talking about the subject. After reviewing it, I don't feel as though this video is an accurate portrayal of the work that Chef and I are putting into this topic in regards to our restaurant and our impact on the issue of child labor in the food industry. It's more of like an introductory video and what I found throughout the day as I was doing my research and studying for school and taking care of the kiddo and going to pick up Chef, running my errands, all of these things, and trying to divide out my day. Chef and I, we are planning a specific video, a discussion series. We will be discussing the topic of child labor. As we do this, if you would like to, I would encourage you to contribute to this discussion. Ask some questions. If you have any comments as well, feel free to DM us on Instagram, send us an email, or leave us a message on Twitter. All of our information is in the description box below. If you follow us on Instagram, our information is also on our profile there. So with that, here is our home vlog and a brief discussion on child labor in the food industry. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Today is Friday. Today we're going to do a home vlog. Chef and I are pretty busy lately with developing this menu for this upcoming dinner that we have. And we are also preparing for this summer for the farmers market and to do a little city vlog. So we'll see how today goes, but I'm trying to get work done, and this one has decided to make herself at home. Look at this. Look at, where's her bed? Her bed is there. But is she on her bed? No, she's not on her bed. Why are you on my bed? Huh? Look at Product Gurus. I did a Sephora order. Actually, I get this stuff all the time. But this stuff, because I'm getting older, I'm going to try it out. And then these are my samples. Jack Black's Protein Booster Eye Rescue. I can use that this morning. And then this one, I actually saw this at Macy's too. Skin Perfecting Serum. Let's see what it does for this old lady. Look, I made a Mother's Day. I'm going to add Ole Henriksen on here, but I usually leave like my Mother's Day list. It's either publicly announced on social media what I want for Mother's Day, or it's like plastered somewhere that the husband can see. And there's no surprises. I just, right there, straightforward, this is what I want. Don't think of it. Don't try to get fancy. Right here. That's it. Super easy. Done. Where's the meteor? You're all wrapped up like a little baby bunting. You made me drop the camera.
You did.
Oh my goodness. This is what I deal with every day. Hey, did you fart again? Did you fart again? Why is it so stinky? Alright, let's get rocking and rolling here. It's getting kind of late. I was actually just doing some more research, which is kind of going to lead me into my next subject while I finish getting dressed so we can go run those couple of errands. Okay, so while I'm doing this, I want to discuss some of the current issues, or maybe you guys know about this, maybe you don't, or maybe you have heard about this. But I should start from the beginning as to why this is so important for us, for our business, as well as for me. And it should be important to a lot of people, which it it is. I'm not gonna lie, but maybe some of you don't know about this issue. So I'm going to raise a little awareness about it. I had done this raising awareness many years ago, about 2019, so about 11 years ago. I was raising awareness during my college years in the Midwest. What I had done a lot of volunteering with the Red Cross out there, and I was also doing a lot of volunteering abroad. And one of those countries was Nepal. I was actually out there for my own mission. I went by myself. I traveled to something like 10 different countries. So about 2.5 months I had traveled about 8 to 10 different countries. It's been so long that I would have to go back and track it. One of those countries was Nepal, and I spent about 6 weeks there volunteering in the village of Bandipur. And in this town, they had been ravaged by the civil war at the time. The day that I had arrived in Kathmandu, my plane landed. The day I had arrived, they deposed of the king. And so there was a lot of political tension going on at that time. There was some violence that day. So going back to my research today, being out there, I was approached by 2 locals to start an orphanage, which ultimately I ended up doing. I started a nonprofit, and since then it has been transferred to them. They run everything from here on out. Our organization funded the construction of the orphanage itself and learning center, and we also funded programs to help the children with their school supplies and any really poor families, usually the lower caste or the untouchables, as they were called back then. Those were the individuals that we had in our program, and we were helping them get back on their feet as a result of the war. A lot of Bandipur was ravaged. A lot of family members were killed as a result of the war, and there were a lot of orphan children who were literally living in the jungle. 8 and 9-year-old kids, some of them as young as 6, were living in the jungle by themselves in the hills of Bandipur. Myself and the locals got together and we formed this orphanage to help them. One of our programs was to provide skills for the older teenagers. So, for example, we had a sewing skills or seamstress skills in which, as long as the kids stayed in school and they kept their grades up, they had to stay in school, they had to keep their grades up, we would pay and we would fund all of their school supplies, we would fund their basic living needs for their family, because once again, these kids were on the verge of either quitting school and going and working somewhere and possibly getting trafficked and never being seen again by their families. They had those 2 choices, either stay in school or they were going to leave and go find work and most likely get trafficked, and we'd never see them again. So we paid for cooking oil. If they had lamps to light in their homes, we would pay for the lamp oils. Or if they actually had a light bulb in their house, we would pay the electric bill each month. We would pay for basic foodstuffs like rice and any of the lentils for their dabat. And then obviously school supplies throughout the year. And as the seasons change, we would pay for gloves and beanies and things like that for them to stay warm. So we took care of those basic needs so that the kids could focus on staying in school. There's a lot of pressure out there on a lot of these kids whose families, they can't afford the basic standard of living out there. There were a couple who had left and who were trying to work, and it turns out that they were going to be trafficked. And so the co-founders out there, he found them and he said, no, come back, don't worry about your bills and things like that. We're going to pay for this. You've got to finish school. And he only had like 2 more years until high school, until he turned 18. And then he had the freedom to go ahead and the right to go ahead and do what he wanted, but he had to finish school. And that was the ultimatum of, look, if you want these things for your family, you got to stay in school. Now, this goes into what I was researching yesterday and what I was researching today. I was researching actually was because of my background and my education, I'm always researching fair trade, labor rights, child labor issues, anything that Illumina Kokina and Hygge Cafe are going to be using in our restaurant. And it is regarding our coffee in regards to child labor. If you're not aware, if you didn't see the video before, I'll put a link up in the corner. We are looking at brewing our own coffee, making our own coffee. The reason why I bring this up is because there are many, many, many countries. Only one that is not on this list is Ethiopia. It might have changed, it might have not since then, but I believe the list is from 2018. Even Costa Rican coffee, they use child labor. On my phone, I will put a link down below, but I have an app on my phone, what countries are in violation of the UN Rights of the Child Accord for child labor. There's a huge fundraiser going on right now for many of these organizations that are trying to combat child labor. And I'll also put that link, and I will probably put a link up in the corner too. You might have heard of this from YouTube itself. The movie is called The Price of Free, actually on Soul Pancake's YouTube channel. Nobel Peace Prize laureate Kailash Satyarthis. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry, Kailashji, if I did not pronounce that correctly. My apologies. A little over 30 years ago, he started a campaign and started rescuing children in India from child labor. And I will put a link to his organization's website where you can make a donation. Otherwise, there are links on Soul Pancake's channel, which I will also put that link below, and I'll probably put a donation link up above as well if you would like to help with this movement. Some of the things in this documentary are going to be appalling for a lot of people who may not have any experience, any direct firsthand experience with this. When I went to Nepal, I did have direct firsthand experience with this. The coffee, I've been doing a lot of research as to which brewer locally follows the 4C rules, follows all of the rules that are needed in regards to fair trade, in regards to environmentally safe and friendly, as well as labor rights. It's not just child labor, it is also forced trafficking of adults as well. Obviously, there is a grave concern for child labor. I just want to let everyone know that I'm working as hard as I can to make sure that wherever we source our coffee from, that we are doing our best to make sure we meet all of those standards. I'm hoping that we can find somebody who, they know for sure that they are meeting these standards and children are not being used to harvest this coffee, because we love our babies.
I'm hungry, Mommy.
For us at Illumina, we believe that it's our duty as chefs, as restaurant owners, being in this industry, it's our duty to make sure that
I'm hungry.
You're hungry, that we take care of our kids, whether near or far. And he's very hungry. I just want you all to know that we are working very, very hard, and we truly believe that, being in this industry, it's our duty to ensure, and being a part of this community, it's our duty to ensure that we are not contributing to child trafficking and child labor. And if anything, our contribution is going to be towards combating that issue. I understand that, sure, it's something that we are going to constantly be dealing with, but with this technology and with more awareness and with all of these industries converging on each other worldwide, this world economy, we could be doing more to manage this better. That's my rant. But that's what I've been studying and trying to research, is to make sure that Illumina and Hygge are making sure that our coffee is sustainably sourced as well as ethically sourced. Personally, it's a very important thing for me. If anybody has any questions about any of that, feel free to DM us on Instagram or send me a tweet. We are also on Twitter at Illumina Coquina, both Instagram and Twitter at Illumina Coquina. You can leave a comment below and I'll answer your questions, obviously, as soon as I can. Stuff feels nice. It's a little sticky. I know what it does. It's like a collagen. No? Am I totally wrong? I'm probably totally wrong. Am I supposed to put it everywhere? Okay, there we go. Now what? I'm supposed to let this dry like that, I think. Is this self-care or is this just like maintenance so that the wrinkles don't like get too obnoxious that you start scaring people on the street? I have like weird dry spot. Why is it like here and then not here and then it's like right here? Anyway, how long do you guys take for all this stuff? When I get up for work in the morning, I have to be at work at 6. I'll get up at 5 and leave at 5:30. I'm done. My freckles are gonna start coming out this summer. They always do. I have some. You can't see them in this camera because it keeps doing the beauty correct thing or whatever. Like if you look straight at it. Kind of drives me crazy. What you see on YouTube ain't what you get.
It's a toy for you.
Thanks. He gives me gifts every day. Gifts and hugs.
He jumped out.
Oh, is your dinosaur gonna poop on the car again?
He's peeing on it.
He's pee-peeing on the car. He's not gonna poop on the car?
He's peeing on it.
Yeah. Do dinosaurs fart? Do they fart as much as you do?
I didn't fart.
Just got back from the bookstore. Picked up this way rad Star Wars pop socket of the Death Star. Okay, so we're back. It's kind of rainy, lots of traffic today. It's kind of odd. I don't know why every single time it starts pouring down rain in Oregon, sudden people just slow down to 5-10 miles an hour on the highway. It's not like rain is a new phenomenon out here. I do have my package here. It's only one book. It's kind of boring stuff. But what I'm about to do now is continue a little bit of research on the coffee. Then afterwards, I'm going to continue doing more research on the child labor, making sure that some of the other items that Chef wants are also in compliance and are also a part of our philosophy with Illumina and Hugo. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to show you something that I actually have on my phone. It's regarding that app that I had mentioned earlier. It's called Sweat and Toil, so it's right here. We're going to click on that. And here it's got countries, goods, and exploitation types. So let's click goods in the middle, up in the upper left-hand corner. And I'm going to scroll down to coffee here. Scroll down to coffee. So on the right hand side you'll see the little blue hands and the black hands and a little red person. Okay, so up in this corner here it gives you a key. So the blue means child labor, the red person is forced labor, and the black hand with the F through it is a forced child labor. Okay, so all of these countries that produce coffee use child labor. That's the blue hand. Okay, Cote d'Ivoire uses forced child labor as well as forced labor, meaning it covers everything, not just children, but not everything, but every age group. And you can see here that the list is, it doesn't scroll too far, but we've got Vietnam, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, Kenya, Sierra Leone, all of these countries here, Brazil, Colombia, even Costa Rica has been recorded using child labor. So this is why Chef and I are very, very cautious as to where our distributor here is sourcing their coffee from, to make sure that they are in compliance with United Nations child labor law, or the UN rights of the child, hang on just a minute, the CRC, which I will also get on my computer and show that to you. But so far, Ethiopia is not on this list, and actually this is the coffee that Chef really, really likes and prefers, and we are most likely going to be using this for Illumina and Higa as well. All right, so the kiddos decided to join me. So going back to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, it was signed by every country in the world November 20th, 1989. Okay, it was ratified by every country in the world. The total number of countries that have signed and ratified the Convention on the Rights of the Child is 182. This is as of 2018. At present, the Convention on the Rights of the Child is ratified by all of the world's nations but one, the United States of America. We are the only country in the world who has not ratified this convention. We need to. If you haven't gotten the chance to look at that documentary, The Price of Free, one of the children in that movie was found 150, 200 miles from home. Some of these kids you never see again. You know, this can be all very overwhelming, you know, especially if we all have our own. You think, what can I do? What am I supposed to do? It hasn't affected me personally, so therefore, you know, there's not much I can do. There's a lot that you can do. Being mindful of your purchases and asking those questions. Hey, where was this sourced from? Doing a quick search on the paper trail of the company. Sticking to your guns when you say, you know what, I am not buying from that company anymore. We are a society of a lot of variety and choice out there. But you find that this company does not follow these practices or these guidelines and uses child labor, don't buy from them. Go get t-shirts from somewhere else. Go get shoes from somewhere else. You don't need to buy from them. So much choice out there, okay? It really is not that difficult to do. It may be a little inconvenient at times because you have to wait a week because the only thing that you can do is order from this shop online that everything is made in America, and they're all the way on the other side of the country, so it's going to take a week for your shoes to get there. Okay. What is that week compared to a child being taken from their family or their mother and father being manipulated and made to believe that their child is going to be in good hands, that, okay, you take this money, we will provide this stipend for you, your child's going to come work for a few months, and then they're going to come back home, because that's the typical story. That's what happens. That's what happened with the children for the nonprofit in Nepal, and we had to go, we said, nope, don't do that. Don't fall for that, okay? It's a serious issue. For us at Illumina and for Huga, we are doing our very best to be as mindful as possible and as aware as possible of where we are sourcing our ingredients for our restaurants and where we are sourcing our supplies from in regards to the overhead, you know, bowls, plates, things like that. If there is anything that we do purchase and we find out later on, oh, hey, you know what, this came from a non-credible source, or they're in violation of human rights, of environmental practices as well, that's it, done. Business is over. Cutting it off. It's that one little step. If you cannot donate to these organizations who are trying to combat this, we can at least be mindful of our purchases and our practices and taking things into consideration. This one is hungry. You. Ah! Oh, he's still punching me. He's still punching me. I'm gonna go pick up Daddy. He's asleep again. Yeah, there's a rainbow over there. It's been raining all day today.
Oh, you know, as a matter of fact, I took a picture
So pretty.
a couple of weeks ago of a rainbow that was in this exact same spot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Aw. We live in such a pretty area.
We do. We are fortunate.
Okay, so we're finally back home from picking up Chef. but I wanted to continue giving you guys some resources as to where I get my information and where you guys can get more information in regards to fair trade, more information about child labor, basically some resources to just kind of keep in mind about the coffee certifications and things that we are considering for our business in order to meet those ethical standards as well as those environmental standards. So I printed out a few things here, and let's go ahead and start the review. All right, so the first one comes from Verite, and the website is actually here, verite.org/project/coffee. One actually talks about all of the countries where forced labor or child labor is reportedly used in their farming practices. So again, they have a list here, and it's a lot of those same countries that are on that app that I showed you earlier. And once again, this is not saying don't buy from these countries at all. Basically saying to be a little more mindful about products that you're buying from these countries, the coffee specifically, and just making sure that they are following the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. It's about where it's reportedly produced with trafficking and child labor. Mention many different countries here, and they mention Danwatch and Finwatch. It talks about what does trafficking, child labor look like in coffee production. It talks about how each country kind of talks to each other every once in a while. Management will be in one country. They will have the actual labor work done in another country. So it's a very sophisticated operation that a lot of these countries can have. This is all over that bag of coffee that you pick up in the grocery store. You may be traveling perhaps to some of these countries to visit for vacation or for work or what have you, and that coffee could have been produced by a child in a field or somebody who's being forced to work. And it even goes into how it actually affects you, the consumer. This is something that we would cover once again in our podcast, or I guess our discussion YouTube video until we get a podcast going. Another good one is the U.S. Department of Labor's 2018 list of goods produced by child labor or forced labor. You always want to look for the most recent so that obviously you can get an updated information. This website here is where I got the information for that app, and here it is on your phone, the U.S. Department of Labor Sweat and Toil mobile application. It's available on both Android and iPhone. TheGoodTrade.com has an article, 15 fair trade coffee brands worth waking up for. So one of the brands that they do mention in here, let's see, we've got Cafe Direct, Equal Exchange, Higher Grounds Roasters, Mule, Doma, Wandering Bear Coffee, Pura Vida. Okay, just a little high five to Stumptown Roasters, located out of Portland. Coffeehabitat.com also has an article and a guide to the coffee certifications that are out there. The bird-friendly certification, and you'll see these too on the back of the coffee bags. Rainforest Alliance is now merged with UTZ, so you may see UTZ along with Rainforest Alliance, or simply just the Rainforest Alliance certified, if you're wondering whatever happened to UTZ. Then there's the USDA Organic Fair Trade here. That's their logo. Fair Trade USA. And here's the UTZ certified, which again, they merge with Rainforest Alliance. The 4C code is a big one. You can actually look on YouTube for 4C. They actually have their own channel. They were the ones who were bringing to light the health effects of endosulfan. Okay, so endosulfans were used for a long time to kill the coffee berry borer beetle, but it was causing a lot of adverse health effects to many, many people. The United States was one of the last to ban endosulfan. So 4C on their channel, they highlight a bunch of farmers who are using alternative methods to combat the coffee berry borer beetle infestations that happen year-round. A lot of science involved. They actually use calendars. A few of the farmers use calendars to be able to calculate when they think the coffee berry borer beetles are going to start arriving once the blooms begin to show up on their crops. And after that, they put out these traps that basically the beetle will come and it'll smell the liquid that's in the trap. It'll fake playing dead, which is a natural reaction for them, just kind of like fall. But when it does that, it falls into the trap and then drowns in the liquid. Another way is by measuring or taking into account and literally counting level by level by level how many berries actually have beetles in them and at what stage of boring the beetle is at. So they have what they called A, B, C, and D boring levels. A is the beetle is like a quarter of the way in. You can still see its little tail sticking out of the berry. If they start to see plain holes, then they know, okay, this berry is infested. What they do is they pick all of the berries that are infested with the beetle. They put them in boiling water, and the boiling water kills the beetle. After that, it gives more room for more berries to grow. If you are not aware of how coffee berries grow, is when you pull a coffee berry off, another one grows. It keeps replacing and it keeps reproducing. That's a couple of the ways that farmers are combating the beetle in a more environmentally friendly way and a healthier way for the biodiversity in their area. I'm trying to catch up on all of this because, again, I'm not a coffee person. I'm a tea person, and even so, I'm not like a diehard tea person. Biologicaldiversity.org has an article on the endosulfan being banned in the United States. It's kind of a short article. It's not too long. So ACS.org has, from 2011, an article on endosulfan being banned worldwide. The United States started phasing it out, and by 2017, I can't remember if it was 2016 or 2017, that they were finally, that was the last time that they could use endosulfan, and it was being phased out. So nobody should be using this stuff. I'm reading my notes here. Look at how messy these notes are. So Horizon is another organization, highlights AgriSeft plantations, and that's another certification that farmers go for. What I did find for Ethiopia, however, was that in their fair trade practices, and I think it was actually on the Horizon YouTube channel. In Ethiopia, they have schools for the kids, so all the families that work on the plantation, they have schools for the kids, they have housing as well for the families who work the fields. We actually have medical care that's also on site. Hey, maybe we can do this here in the U.S. I don't know. Part of the families working on the farm is that they provide for those families' children. Pan UK is another resource for you. Pan UK highlights the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants, or POPs, in regards to the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants. In the United States, domestic use of endosulfan would end in 2016, but is not a partner in the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants. So just like with the child labor, the rights of the child, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, it has not ratified that convention. It was not a partner, but it was just an observer to these meetings that were going on at the United Nations in Stockholm. But it did, however, decide that it would end endosulfan use in 2016, but I think the last of it was finally phased out in 2017. If it reaches the United Nations level, you know it's serious. It's something that everybody is trying to get on the same page. Very, very important, and we should probably be paying attention to it. So that's what I'm doing, is making sure that we are adhering and using best practices. So I'll keep updating and posting, obviously, what I find, what we're deciding to put into practice for Illumina and Huga, and what's going to be a part of our business model. Thank you so much for watching this. This is actually a very important subject for me. If you made it this far, because I know this has been just a lot of blah, blah, blah talking, and it's kind of, I know it can be boring, but it is a very important subject. So feel free to contribute. Any thoughts, any suggestions, comments, questions, anything, leave them below. I hope you guys are having a wonderful first week of spring with all this rain and with this sunshine in some areas of the country, and we will see you next time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, be sure to click the subscribe button down below and hit that bell to receive notifications on our new videos. And you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Illumina Coquina. Thank you so much for your